Hello, my name is Matt Sorensen, and in this video I'm going to be showcasing the final Java project for week 6. In this project we were supposed to create an automated version of the classic card game War, and the assignment begins by requesting that we create a few different classes called card, deck, and player. This was similar to the week lab, except that we were only supposed to assign a name and value. So I needed to encapsulate the fields and then create a constructor for them, and to associate the constructor with the fields, I had to write this dot name, this dot value for each. I was supposed to create getters and setters for both the names and the values, and this was auto-generated, except I did add this right here, so it was just a more consistent way to go about that. And then I was supposed to create a describe method, so that it would a method to return the name and value of the card that I could use later on in the app. For the deck class, I did the same thing, encapsulated a new cards field, made it private so it wasn't accessible in other areas of the code, and then had to create a constructor that was very similar to the week 5 lab. But for the for loop here to instantiate the deck, I sort of pushed both the name and the values into one nested for loop. So for each suite and suites, while I zero and it went through the length of number names, it would continue to loop. I created two values within it. So for each element of the suite, concatenated all that together to create the names. And then for the value, I need to start at 2 and at 14. So I just did I plus 2. And then I added, I created a new card that took the name and the value of each, and then added it to my list up here, my array list. We're also supposed to create a draw and a shuffle method, and this was very similar to week 5's lab. And I would just have it remove the first element because of zero-based indexing. It starts at 0, to remove the top or the very first element within the deck class, or I guess within this card class here. And then shuffle, same exact function as the week 5 lab. For player, I had to create 3 fields, hand, score, and name. For the hand, I had to create another new array list, again, privatized all of them, and then had to start score at 0, again, associated it as we've done before, and create some getters so that I could call on it in my app class and return the score and the name. We were also supposed to create a flip method, which is going to remove the first element in each player's hand and a draw, so that it would draw top card from the deck and then add that card to their hand, and then increment the score whenever needed. I also had to create this describe function or method here that was going to give them the name, show and print out the player had following cards, and then for every card in their hand, it was going to call on the describe method from the card class to describe that. And finally, for the actual app, we had to instantiate a deck and create 2 new players, and then shuffle that deck and divvy out the cards to each player. And so I just called on the player class because these were player up here, and then call on the draw function or draw method over here, draw from the deck, do that 52 times. If the remainder of I divided by 2 equals 0, it would give it to player 1, or else it would give it to player 2, and that divvied out the cards evenly. And then I did a whole bunch of print lines here so that it just made the what print to the console very clean and easy to read. And then I called on this player's describe function so that it would print what was in each player's hand. So let's begin. And then for then I'd actually create the gameplay here and created 2 cards called P1 P2 flip. That was going to have the player flip the card from the method that we created over here, and then describe what they played in each. If the value was greater than, if P1's value was greater than P2's value, then we'd increment the score and print out information about each of their scores and names and say who won. Same thing was true if the opposite was true, player 2 had the higher value, it would do the same for them. Then if there was a draw, it would say draw and then get the names and score for each. And then for the end of the game, if their final score, if one player's final score was bigger than the others, it would call on the name method, the get name method, and say that they win, and then print out their name and score. And if the opposite was true, do the same for them. And if neither of those cases were true, then the game would have to print out game ends with the draw and print out the final score. So now let's see if it runs. Here's the console. Go ahead and press play, and as you can see, it starts with what game war, shows exactly what each player has in their hand, and then starts the gameplay. If code is working to how I created it, it's going to grab the first element in each of their hands. So the first element should be a 6 of clubs in player 1, 8 of clubs should be the first element. So 8 of clubs is the first element in player 2, and the 6 of clubs is the first element in player 1. And it goes all the way through, prints out who won each round, and at the end, it says who won and delivers the final score. And if we do this over and over and over, we can see it runs through all of them and includes the draw.